Hello, 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 and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to WDRB Media, the voice of the community. The only station giving you double the information and inspiration. You're listening to Here I Am Radio, and I'm your host, the one and only Tawana Pruitt, a survivor utilizing my life's experiences to enrich and empower all of whom I encounter. In addition to being an author, I am also a leader, a life coach, and a motivational speaker who fights a strong fight for all women and children. Our show is sponsored by Here I Am, Lord, I Surrender. This book covers 3 different women's testimonies. Their testimonies express the horrific acts of violence that they each experienced at the hands of someone that they loved and trusted. How they continue to stand on the promises that God has made. These women are gracious. They are vibrant and tenacious. They're God-fearing women, and their stories will surely bless anyone that reads it. You may purchase this book online at Ingram Spark or Amazon Kindle. The author may be reached directly at 470-735-5054. On today's show, we're going to talk about how to forgive yourself. But before I dive into that, I ask that you all listen to what the government is saying to you. If you do not need to leave your home, don't. If you do, be safe. Please be safe. Wash your hands vigorously with soap and water. Wear your mask as long as it has a carbonated filter. It protects you. Be safe. To all the other essential workers as myself, I commend you for continuing to do your job. I pray that God continues to protect each and every one of us, and that as this earth goes through this pandemic, that we all come out healthier than we were when we went into it. Those of who have lost their lives, my condolences, my sincerest condolences to their families, friends, and their loved ones. I pray their strength in God to get through this. Again, let's all be safe and listen to the government. Now, how to forgive yourself. Making peace and moving forward is often easier said than done. Being able to forgive yourself requires empathy, compassion, kindness, and understanding. It also requires you to accept that forgiveness is a choice. Whether you're trying to work through a minor mistake or one that impacts all areas of your life, the steps you need to take in order to forgive yourself will look and feel the same. All of us make mistakes at times. As humans, we're imperfect beings. We are imperfect beings. But we have to learn from our mistakes and move on from them. As painful and as uncomfortable as it may feel, there are things in life that are worth enduring the pain for in order to move forward. And forgiving yourself is one of them. I'm going to talk about some steps briefly today on how to forgive yourself. Focus on the emotions. Focus on your emotions. One of the first steps in learning to forgive yourself is to focus on your emotions. Before you can move forward, you need to acknowledge and process your emotions. Emphasis on your. Give yourself permission to recognize and accept the feelings that have been triggered in you and welcome them. Second, acknowledge the mistake out loud. Speak it. Acknowledge it. If you make a mistake and you continue to struggle with letting it go, acknowledge it out loud can help you learn from that mistake. Hearing it. When you give a voice to the thoughts in your head and emotions in your heart, you may feel yourself from free yourself from some of your boundaries, your burdens, and your boundaries. You also imprint in your mind what you learned from the actions and your consequences. Third, think of each mistake as a learning experience. Reminding ourselves that we did the best we could with the tools and the knowledge that we had at the time will help us forgive ourselves and move forward. Fourth, give yourself permission to put this process on hold. It don't mean you have to tackle it today, tomorrow, next week. Give yourself permission to put it on hold. If you make a mistake but have a hard time putting it out of your mind, put it on hold, right? Put it in a jar, mason box, a container, just lock it away and come back to it. Tell yourself you're putting this aside for now and will return to it if and when it benefits you. Fifth, have a conversation with your inner critic. I do that all the time. I do that all the time. I'm told that I be talking to all the people that are in my mind, but this can help you identify thought patterns that are sabotaging your ability to forgive yourself. You can also journal information and make a list of the qualities that you like about yourself, including your strengths and your skills. This can help boost your self-confidence when you're feeling down about making the mistake that you made. Sixth, notice when you are being self-critical. We are our own worst critics, right? Exactly. You might be surprised by what your inner critic actually says to you. 7, quiet the negative messages of your inner critic. Quiet it. Just shut it down. Shut it down, because it gets in the way of forgiving ourselves. 8, get clear about what it is that you want. If the mistake you made hurt another person, you need to determine the best course of action. Do you want to talk to this person and apologize? Is it important to reconcile with them and make amends? If you're on the fence about what to do, you might want to consider making amends. Yeah, make amends. This goes beyond saying sorry to a person you've hurt. Instead, try to fix the mistake you've made. Try to fix it. If it's not fixable, go beyond apologizing, do what you have to do, and keep it moving. 9, take your own advice. Oftentimes, it's easier to tell someone else what to do than to take your own advice. If you're having a difficult time working through this in your head, it can help role play it with a friend. You get to be the advice giver and practice telling your friend how to move on. When we come back, we will continue our discussion on forgiving yourself. You're listening to Here I Am Radio, and I'm your host, Tawana Pruitt. You're tuned in to WDRB Media, the voice of the community, the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. We'll be right back after this break.
Sometimes you wonder why the troubles of life seem to weigh you down. Well, I found a friend that I highly recommend. He will stick closer than a brother, and he'll love you like no other. Yeah. What you see doesn't match what you believe. Hold on, wait and see. Remember that God is working it out for the mountains and the wind. Yeah. Told the heavens where to begin. Everything that you're going through, don't you let it worry you. I'm seeing it work, baby, peace in a raging storm. He's everything I need and more. Please allow me to encourage you to get ready for your breakthrough. I'm seeing it work. Waited a long time to see all your prayers, hopes, and dreams become reality. Well, let me encourage you. You do what you do, and just let God do
WDRB Media, the voice of the community, and those streaming live through the free TuneIn Radio app and through iHeartRadio. You're currently listening to Here I Am Radio, and I'm your host, Tawana Pruitt. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about how to forgive yourself. As a survivor, I will continue to utilize my life's experiences to enrich and empower all of whom I encounter. In addition to being your radio host, I am also an author, a leader, a life coach, and a motivational speaker who fights a strong fight for all women and children. Again, we've been discussing how to forgive yourself, and I've gone over 8 steps with several more to go. So, with the 9th step, you have to learn to take your own advice, as mentioned prior to our break. 10. Quit playing the tape. Cut it off, unplug it, dispose of it. It's human's nature to spend time and energy replaying our mistakes. While some processing is important, going over what happened again and again won't allow you to take the proper steps to forgive yourself. When you catch yourself playing that "I'm a horrible person" tape, stop yourself and focus on one that's positive. For example, instead of replaying the tape, take 3 deep breaths or simply go out for a walk. 11. Show kindness and compassion. If your first response is to a negative situation is to criticize yourself, it's time to show yourself some kindness and compassion. The only way to begin the journey to forgiveness is to be kind and compassionate with yourself. This takes time, patience, and a reminder to yourself that you're worthy of forgiveness. 12. Seek professional help. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. There's nothing wrong with paying to go see a counselor. Forgiveness is important to the healing process since it allows you to let go of anger, guilt, shame, sadness, or any other feeling you may be experiencing and move on. Once you identify what you're feeling, give it a voice and accept that mistakes are inevitable. You'll begin to see how freeing forgiveness can be. Join us next week as we continue enriching and empowering our listeners. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. Continue to tune in every Friday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please remember to connect with me by going to my webpage, www.tawanadpruitt.com. Instagram, here_I_M3518. Twitter, Tawana Pruitt. Facebook, Here I Am Radio, and Here I Am Lord I Surrender. And on YouTube, at here_I_M3518. Also, if you would like to be a guest on the show or want free advertising, call me at 470-735-5054 or email me at 3518enterprise@gmail.com. You've been listening to Here I Am Radio, and I'm your host, Tawana Pruitt, here on WDRB Media, the voice of the community, for double the information and inspiration. Until next week, continue to be blessed. Remember, God's grace and mercy is sufficient enough for me.
Deliver me, 'cause all